in this tutorial, we're going to focus more on navigation than any sort of formatting or anything like that. There's some things you need to know about how websites function and how you link from one page to the next and how you move through those pages, what appropriate titles are, why we've called this first page index.html. And so we're going to go ahead and get started with that. So I'd like you to open the file we created last time and go ahead and click on the Run Debug button again. Click on Run and Debug and choose Chrome, or if you're in Windows, you could use Edge, or you could try Safari or whatever you want. But I'm going to go ahead and do Chrome, and that should bring this up. And then I'm just going to resize my window so that I have both things on screen at the same time. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. So we've got this file called index.html. So why did we call it index.html? Well, this is the default where web browsers, websites, the way this whole section of the internet works is that it searches for index.html as the first page, unless you tell it very specifically not to. That is the first page that is searched for when it's loading a web address, right? And so if there's no page given, right, as part of the title, like if you just type in www.google.com, right, it's going to go to essentially, and this is probably not necessarily true, but it would go to www.google.com/index.html is the page that would come up. And it's a shorthand thing. If you have index.html, then everything knows to go to that page first, unless you specify another page to go to. So that's why we start with index.html. Now, there's one more tag we need to add. We're going to delete some of the stuff that we've done in here. But there's one more tag we need to add above the HTML tag. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And I'm going to go back up one. I'm going to do an opening caret. I'm going to type DOC, and you'll see that I get this exclamation point doc type. And it automatically fills in that this is HTML. Now, what this does is this is just something that when browsers load the page, they oftentimes check for the doc type so that the browser knows what it's dealing with, because there's several different potential doc types that are out there. And so doc type HTML just tells it immediately, this is just an HTML document. I don't have to worry about any of these other languages or systems or ways that people build sites. So we set the doc type. We're going to say HTML. We can keep our title. We want to keep the body tag, but let's just go ahead and delete everything down until we get to that last body tag. Okay, and we're just going to leave. We could also get rid of this BG color in here and just have a white background. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save this, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit Command or Control R or F5 if you're on Windows to refresh this, and it should just be a blank white page at this point. So what we need to do is one of the requirements for the project that you all will be working on in my course is that you can actually navigate from one page to another. So let's go ahead and create a couple of different pages. So what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select all of the text here, and I'm going to copy this, because what I'm going to do is use this text and just paste it into the next ones, because there's a lot of things that you can copy and paste and have it function. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to make sure I have my Explorer open, which means I can just I want to click on this 2-page icon up here, and I've got my index, and then there's this new file tag here. I'm just going to click new file. And I'm going to just call this page 1, or sure, we'll just call it page1.html. And with page 1 HTML selected, I'm going to go ahead and paste this code in here. Now I am going to go ahead and add back that BG color tag. I'm going to make this one, I'm just going to type in green. And so that we're going to have a visual difference between these different pages. And then what's nice about this is I also have these, right, my tabs here, right? So this is my index, right? And this is my other file. And as I add additional files, that will change. So now I'm going to select all of this code. I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. I'm going to call it page2.html. I'm going to hit enter to create that page. And then I'm going to paste this. And you could try whatever, color that you want. I'm just going to say gray, which probably isn't actually a keyword, but we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and save this page. And I'm going to go ahead and save this page. Okay, and there's this, note page 2 is hidden right now. This is kind of a strange interface, but there's this, the debugger was covering it up. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag this over off to the side a little bit. Okay, so I've got my 3 pages. So let's go back to index.html. So on index, we need to have some text. Now, something we didn't talk about before is white space, right? If I was to say put a tab in here and then type something, and I was expecting the text to be tabbed over, that's not going to happen. HTML documents and browsers understand white space, just spaces, but they don't understand tabs and things like that, and there's special characters for those. And so we're not going to deal with that right now, but I just want you to be aware that if you're trying to tab things over, there's ways, there's special characters to do that. So what we need to do is we need to have what's called an anchor tag, right? The anchor tag is what allows you to essentially create a button and navigate to another page. So I'm going to create an anchor tag within my body. I am going to go ahead and hit enter after the body, because what that's done is you saw my cursor was all the way over here, but if I hit enter here, it does tab this in. And all of these indents that we're getting are just for us to make it more legible. If I had my text starting over here, it'd be really confusing what was the body and what wasn't the body. So this is just a way to keep our things organized. And so I'm just going to say opening caret, and you'll see the very first option after body is A. So I'm going to hit enter with that. And maybe I should have hit tab. I'm going to say A and then space href. And what href does, and if I hit enter at this point, there we go, is this is my HTTP reference, right? This is basically, if I hover over it, it says, right, it contains a URL, which is a URL, right, is just a web address or a document address, right? And so in our case, we just have this one folder currently of our different documents. And so what I can enter in here is just the page I want to go to, and it's going to assume that I want to go to that file in the same folder and directory. So if I say href and I just say page1.html, right, and then I go ahead and close this, you'll see that then I get this other stuff here. Now, if I go ahead and save this and refresh this, we're not going to see anything up here, right? Because this, all it creates is the link, but it needs text or an image or a paragraph or something within these enclosing tags in order for us to have, like, essentially physical space on the screen to click on. So I'm just going to go ahead and type page 1 so it's obvious what we're doing. If I go ahead and save this and refresh this again, oops. If I go ahead and save this and refresh this, now I have this link that comes up in blue that you'll notice my cursor changes when I hover over it. And if I click on it, I should go to page 1, right? And so now I'm on this green page. All right, so let's go ahead and select this whole line, including that opening tag. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come back to the end of that line. I'm going to hit return. I'm going to paste it. And I'm just going to update this to be page 2 and page 2. And then I'm going to go ahead and save this. And you'll note that, right, I am here, so I'm going to have to hit the back arrow, and that's going to take me back here. And now, as soon as I've hit the back arrow there, you'll see I have page 1 and page 2. And you'll note that, right, page 1 is in purple now because that means it's been clicked on previously, and page 2 is still in bright blue. So if I hop on page 2, look at that, gray is actually a keyword. And so, right, so now I'm on this gray page. And what I need to do now is have some way to get back from those pages to my index, right? So I'm going to go ahead, or potentially get to the other pages as well. What sometimes works, and this is a little silly because you're already going to be on the index, but if I go ahead and go behind my body tag and go ahead and paste and change this to index and change this to index, and then go ahead and save this and hop back here, right? So now if I click on this, it's actually going to take me back just to the same page I'm on. It's a self-referential link. Now, these tags can also take you to different places in a tag. You can essentially create markers, and we'll look at that later, where if you click on it, it just jumps you down in the body of the page that you're currently on. So I've got page 1, page 2. Let's go ahead and copy all of this. And I'm going to go to page 1, and I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to go ahead and paste this. And then I'm going to save that. I'm going to go to page 2. I'm going to go to the end of this tag, hit enter, and paste this, and save this. And so now if I go to, say, page 1, right, now I have those same links up here. If I go to page 2, I have the same links, so I can go back to page 1, or I can go to the index, right? And so this is basically how simple it is to navigate from page to page. Now, oftentimes you may want to also link to an external resource. Like, let's say that, you don't want somebody to have to type in www.google.com. You'd rather they just be able to click on it from your site and go. So to make a link to a page outside of your website, and this could be anywhere on the internet, you need to type in the address slightly differently. You need to type in HTTP, and usually HTTPS is what is used now, and then it's colon, // and the website. So in our case, it would be like www.google.com, and then finish it with a /, and then finish your tag and just type Google or whatever you want that word to be. So now I'm going to go ahead and save that. And if I pop back over here, and I am on page 2, so let's just say it looks like if I refresh this, I should be on the same page. And now if I click on Google, it's going to take me to Google. So, right, so this is the way that you can actually reference things that are online, even from this site that is, currently not an online resource. Okay, so that's how you create navigation links in an HTML document. Now, obviously, we haven't done any sort of formatting whatsoever here. And so, they're displaying just right across the top next to each other. So the last thing I want to introduce in this quick tutorial is a list. And a list basically allows you to align things vertically. You can use bullets. There's all sorts of formatting we can do to it. And there's two types of lists. So the tag to start a list is you start with, it's either UL, which is unordered. So I'm going to type in UL. And you'll see that it finished this tag for me. But really what I want to do is I want to cut that, and I want to paste it down below. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter here and paste this. And you'll see it automatically pushed this back over because it knows that it should be enclosed in here. Okay, and so what we want to do is we want to indent all of these lines. However, I don't know how to do that because I'm new to the software and I'm trying to figure it out. So if I go up to View and I click on Command Palette, what this does is it allows me to search through all of these possible commands in order to find what I need. Now, going down, down, down through this list would take forever because there's a lot in there. But I know what I want to do is indent these. So if I type in INDE indent, you'll see that there are several options. And there's this detect indentation from content, which is already happening, but we want to manually do this. So we're going to go ahead and say indent line. And what that's going to do is it's going to kick it over. All of those lines that we have selected are going to be kicked over one further set. Okay, so I've got this unordered list. It's just on page 2. So I'm going to save this. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this and refresh. And you'll see that it has indented this off the side and down from the top a little bit, which is kind of the default formatting. However, all of these things are still in one row. So it set this up, but it still isn't a list. It's just like one line still, but we do have a little bit of space around it. So how do we make sure it knows what we want to be an item on the list? The way we do that is with the li tag. That means list item. And you'll see it's automatically creating this other half. So I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to go ahead and paste this in here. And I don't know if I paste it here, it's probably going to still create that other half. So I'm going to say li. Obviously, it's usually better to do this right beforehand, but planning is not something I'm necessarily great at. So we're just going to do this right manually. And this is something that will come up. You'll realize, oh, I need to format this in a certain way. And you're going to have to copy and paste the tags when they auto-populate, not necessarily where you want them to auto-populate. So now I've got all 3 of those, and I just need to add this final one. So li, and then I can copy, or I can cut that. And at this point, right, because I have my text so big, it's spilling over off the other side, but that's fine. So, right, that's what our list should look like. If we save this and now we render this, you'll see that I get an unordered list and I actually have bullets next to it. And so the question then becomes, and we'll talk about bullets and how to, remove them, but now we just have this formatted in a different form, right? Lists are really are used all the time on websites, right? It's just a really nice way to organize things, and there's a lot of styling you can do when we get into CSS. All right, so that's it for this tutorial. A little bit more about, just an unordered list and how to make that, and adding links to other pages.